In this episode, I'm going to give you my recommendations for week 3 of the fantasy basketball season for the Sleeper app. Now, let's make some game picks. Welcome to the Game Pick Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Robbin Marx. You can connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Game Pick Podcast. If you love fantasy basketball, points leagues, dynasty, Sleeper's new game pick format, please consider subscribing on all channels. This is all new. Like, let's grow together. Game pick is like totally taking the fantasy community by storm. A lot of people are testing it out, especially people who are new to fantasy. It's a great platform for you to kind of get your chops up in terms of how fantasy works, but also for people who have been around the block, whether you've been playing categories or whether you've been playing roto, or if you're doing points leagues. This is a whole new way to experience fantasy. So if you have not tried out the new game pick format for Sleeper, please go do that today. So we're going to go right in to giving you guys some game picks. This segment is called Big Time Game Picks, where I'm going to review really some of the bigger stars in the NBA and hopefully help you to dominate in your fantasy league. So the first person I want to go over, the first player, is Jonas Valanciunas. Jonas Valanciunas. People mess up his name. Valanciunas. 3 games this week, all away. Like, I want to say, like, this guy has been kicking major butt all year. Valanciunas has been on fire. He has 3 games all away, a back-to-back on Tuesday and Wednesday. So what I would recommend is play him on Friday versus the Golden State Warriors. I mean, he's been feasting. On October 25th versus Karl Anthony Towns and the Wolves, he put up a monster line, 22 points. He was 8 for 8 from the free throw line, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and 23 rebounds. I would play him on Friday at the Golden State Warriors. The next person I want to talk about is Trae Young. Trae Young is one of my favorite fantasy players, but also like real life players. Like, I live in Atlanta. Like, I love me some Trae Young. This week, he has 4 games. He has 2 home games, 2 away. He has 1 back-to-back, and he has an away game at Brooklyn and a home game versus Utah for the back-to-back. So for the back-to-back, he has an away game at Brooklyn and a home game versus Utah. So what I would do is I would play him early in the week to set the tone for your game pick format on Sleeper. You want to like set the tone and make sure you get some points early, especially because he has that later week back-to-back. I would just take advantage of him playing early in the week, and I would play him on the Monday versus Washington at home. So it's a home game, and also it's his highest projected point total. So he's projected to score more points on the Monday. So I would strongly recommend playing Ice Trae on a Monday. Next up, we got Zac Lavine. Zac Lavine. Now, I drafted Zac Lavine in a lot of places. Like, I drafted him because he's one of my favorite players, but also I just felt like he was taking his game to another level last season. Like, he was scoring crazy points. Like, one could argue that he was, trending towards becoming a first round type of a fantasy player, and then the Bulls made all of those moves. They pulled in Lonzo Ball. They got, Vucevic. They got DeRozan. So they have these new pieces. Like, one could argue that they have a big 4, Vucevic, DeRozan, Lavine, and Ball. Like, those are like big time players. Like, they're deep, right? So I still drafted him because I felt like, despite him having, so many people on the team that, need the ball and so many mouths to feed, I felt like Zach would be the guy that kind of, separated himself from the pack. So far this season has been a little up and down. He's had some strong games, but also he has some games where he kind of seems like he's fitting into the team, the four-headed monster, if you will, of the team. I would say that Lonzo Ball's ball distribution, like he has so many weapons that he's looking really good. So I would even say Lonzo's a little higher, but this is about Zach. I would say for this week, Zach has 3 games. Chicago plays at Philadelphia on Wednesday, and then they get 2 days rest, which is very important to note. They get 2 days rest, and then they play Philadelphia again, but there's that 2 days rest. So what I would do is I would play him on the Saturday to make sure that he's well rested and see if he can put up some major points for you. Next up, we want to talk about Kevin Durant, KD. So there's this whole, saga happening with Kyrie Irving. Like, I won't go into the details of like the vaccinations, but I would say he's not playing right now, which, can inflate both Kevin Durant and Harden's production over the next few weeks, especially, if Kyrie doesn't come back for the season, that could like change the game for what KD's value was in the draft. So people were drafting him, late first round. Some people even drafted him in the early second round. So you might get tons of value back for if you picked up KD. You know what I'm saying? He's looking really good. He has more bounce in his step than he's had in years. And also he's Kevin Durant, like arguably the best player on the planet. So for week 3, he has 3 games. I would play him on his only home game, which is the Wednesday game versus Atlanta. So that creates like a midweek surge for you. When you play game pick, it's one game that you get to pick. Unlike normal points leagues where your players play all week, every game that's available, you can play a player. You only get to pick one game, which is an amazing level of strategy that goes along with it. So one thing and I'll do videos about this if you guys want it, but one of the strategies that I'm seeing people do is really like making sure you ration out your players throughout the week. So you want to have an early start, you want to have a midweek surge, and then you want to have a closer, like people who are going to close out, like big names for the closers. So for Kevin Durant, I would play him in the middle of the week and get that midweek surge. De'Aaron Fox. I love De'Aaron Fox. He's having a slow start so far. It could be a buy low, opportunity for you. But if you have him, I would hold. I would not trade De'Aaron Fox right now. Last year, if you remember, he started off pretty slow last year too, so like I wouldn't go panicking if you have De'Aaron Fox. Just be patient. For week 3, he has 4 games. He has a back-to-back on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Finish the week with him. I would play him on the Sunday at home versus Indiana. I mean, people are worried about him. Don't worry. Have faith in De'Aaron Fox. He will come through for you. And I predict a big game for him versus Indiana at home on Sunday for week 3. Clint Capela. Clint Capela has 4 games. He has a back-to-back at home against Brooklyn and Utah, but I would save him until the end of the week. I would save him for the end of the week in an away game versus Phoenix. I tend to stay away from the back-to-backs just because I don't, especially if the back-to-backs are later in the week, because you don't want to, fall victim to a player not playing and then not having options to slide in there before the game start, or before, you won't be able to play someone if it's too late. So suppose you have a player who had a back-to-back on a Saturday and Sunday, and then you didn't have any other players playing on a Sunday, and then you find out that the game you picked the Sunday, he's not available, you're screwed. So I would stay away from back-to-backs late in the week. Sometimes I'll play some back-to-backs in the midweek or in the early week, but for the most part, I try to get players who are rested and, playing at home. So in this case, because the back-to-backs were at home, and then he had an away game, I'd rather have an away game than have anything to do with the back-to-back. For Clint Capela also, because he has a history of injuries. He gets banged up easily, and he's had a really strong start to the season, and I imagine he'll continue that trend. Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton has 4 games in week 3. He's really struggled early on, and it may have something to do with the Cavs and him not agreeing to a rookie contract extension. Last year, he averaged career highs, 24.3 points per game, 4.4 assists per game. They may want to move him. I don't know. I don't know if he's the kind of like draft, trade capital that could bring in a big piece, or if they're even trying to do that. Are they trying to win now? Are they rebuilding? They have some really good pieces with Darius Garland. But I would say either way, I have faith in him for points leagues. So for points leagues, I really, really love Colin Sexton. If you don't have him on your roster, this could be a good buy low opportunity. You might want to send some offers out there, maybe send a few of your players and see maybe some of your lower tier players out there, maybe 2 for 1 and see if you can get him back. But if you have him on your roster, I would hold, wait it out. Colin Sexton for points leagues. This channel is all about points leagues, game pick. He is perfect for the format that you love. So I would strongly recommend holding on to him. So I would ride out the storm with Colin, and I would play him on Monday at Charlotte. It's his highest projected scoring output. Start the week out strong with Colin Sexton. And next up, I want to talk about Ja Morant. Ja is rolling this year. I mean, he's making a statement. Some would argue that he is an early season MVP candidate. Facts, like numbers don't lie, right? At least with this small sample size, he's looking like that. And just watching him play, like I've had the opportunity to watch a few of his games. Yo, his bounce has always been crazy, but he seems like he's on a mission. He's like, he looks like Russell Westbrook and Kobe. Like he's crazy the way he's throwing his body and AI. Like he's like fast and aggressive. I love the way he's playing right now. On October 24th, versus the LA Lakers, he went for 40 points, 3 rebounds, 10 assists, and 5 3-pointers. In week 3, he has 3 games, 2 home games against Denver on Monday and Wednesday, then an away Friday game versus Washington. He's projected to have his highest scoring output on a Friday. Play him on Friday. Now, my favorite part, the pick of the week, my pick of the week. Now, this is going to sound crazy to some of you because I know that, maybe this is not what you're expecting, the name that I'm going to drop on you, but I promise you, this guy is going to be an amazing asset to any fantasy squad, especially if you're playing Dynasty. My pick for Rookie of the Year, Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. He had his coming out party against Boston on October 24th, scoring 30 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. The defensive stats, he's putting up crazy defensive stats. Also, 8 3-pointers in 35 minutes. 8 3-pointers. For week 3, he has 4 away games, including 1 back-to-back to close out the week. I would suggest playing him on the Tuesday versus the Lakers. Everybody wants to play in Staples Center. Everybody wants to play in Madison Square Garden. So I believe this young man, if I'm not mistaken, this might be his first time playing in the Staples Center. He's going to go off. I know he's going to go off. He's playing against LeBron James. Like he's going to he's so pumped up. Either he's really going to do well or he's going to flop. I would lean towards saying he's going to do well, but we'll see what happens. And again, because he's so young, he's still adjusting to the NBA schedule. So I would play him earlier in the week, especially, with a 4-game schedule. So question, did I fail to mention your player? Did I fail to mention the players on your roster? Did I not mention any of your players? Were you waiting okay, say my player. Come on, talk about Kemba Walker. Not going to do Kemba Walker. I'm sorry. New York, I love you. Listen, if you have players that you would like me to give you game picks for, all you have to do is shoot me a DM or leave a comment on the YouTube. Simple as that. I'm replying to every single comment. Like this is a new channel. This is a new, endeavor. This is a new podcast. This is a new fantasy format. It's like back in the day, people used to use horses and carriages. Then one day somebody came home with a car. Like this is that kind of feeling. Like we got roto leagues, category leagues, points leagues, and now we have game pick leagues, thanks to the good folks at Sleeper app. Don't miss out on this opportunity. So Please join our brand new Discord group if you want more information about Game Pick. Also, if you need advice for trades, dynasty questions, team names, anything to do with fantasy basketball, please join our Discord group. All you have to do is hit the link in the YouTube description on this episode. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this with a friend. Hit us with our Hacksaw Jim Duggan, tough guy, and leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you absolutely crush your league this week. Now get out there and make some game picks.